Imagine this moment. You are sitting quietly, maybe in your room, maybe at your desk, maybe in your car with the engine off. The world is loud, but inside you it feels even louder. There's a voice inside you that whispers, "You were meant for more than this." At first, you ignore it. You tell yourself, "Life is fine, I should just be grateful." But deep down, you know the truth. That voice is not here to comfort you. That voice is here to command you. It will either raise you to your throne or leave you chained to mediocrity for the rest of your life. What you are about to read is not a suggestion. It is a command, just as Napoleon Hill once commanded thousands of readers when he wrote Think and Grow Rich. His words were not simply ideas. They were laws, truths, instructions from life itself. And right now, those instructions are coming to you. The death of the old you, Hill often said. Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. But here's the problem. Most people never water that seed. They carry the same excuses, the same limitations, the same old self, year after year, never daring to shed it. Think about it. How many times have you promised yourself, "Tomorrow I'll change. Next month I'll start. Next year I'll really go for it." And then tomorrow, next month, next year, it all looks the same. Friend, let me tell you the truth. The old you has to die today. Not next week. Not when you feel ready. Not when the money comes in or when you finally have support. Right now. This very moment. Andrew Carnegie, the great steel magnate who mentored Napoleon Hill, believed this. He once said, "The man who dies rich dies disgraced." Why? Because wealth itself was not the goal. Transformation was. Carnegie saw wealth as the result of unleashing human potential, and to die without unleashing yours is to waste the greatest gift you were given. So today, you must bury the old you, the one who hesitates, the one who doubts, the one who is too timid to claim what belongs to you. Say this out loud, right now. I am not who I was yesterday. I am becoming who I am meant to be. Say it again, louder, until your chest vibrates with the sound of your own conviction. The old you would be embarrassed. The old you would whisper or stay silent. But the new you is stepping forward. And the first step is courage, to speak your transformation into existence. The power of solitude. Henry Ford, the farm boy who became the father of the automobile industry, understood a principle most people ignore. Transformation requires solitude. Ford was not antisocial. He was not hiding from the world. He was building in silence. He sat alone in his workshop, tinkering, dreaming, creating something that did not exist before. People laughed at him, called his ideas crazy. But it was in that solitude, with no one's opinion drowning out his own, that he built the vision that changed the world. Napoleon Hill, too, spoke of this. He called it the mastermind principle. But before you can join forces with others, you must first learn to master your own mind. That mastery begins in solitude. John D. Rockefeller, another giant of American industry, spent quiet hours each morning not in idleness, but in thinking and planning. He visualized his empire before it existed. He treated silence not as loneliness, but as power. You must do the same. I command you to find 1 hour each day, starting today, where you are completely alone. No television, no phone, no outside voices. Just you and your thoughts. What will happen in that hour? At first, your mind will fight. It will tell you this is silly. It will urge you to get up, to check your phone, to distract yourself. That is the old you trying to survive. Let it die. Stay in that silence until the noise inside you quiets down. Then you will begin to hear a different voice, the voice of your true self, the self you were born to become. Definite purpose, The secret of all achievement. Napoleon Hill discovered something remarkable in his 20 years of interviews with the most successful men and women in America. Behind every great fortune, behind every extraordinary achievement, there was always one thing: a definite purpose. Definite purpose means clarity. It means saying, "This is exactly who I am becoming. This is exactly what I will achieve. This is the legacy I will leave." Not, "I hope." Not, "I wish." Not, "if things work out." No. A decision. Thomas Edison didn't hope to invent the light bulb. He decided to. He failed thousands of times, but failure could not stop a man who had already made a decision. J.P. Morgan didn't stumble into becoming one of the most powerful financiers in history. He decided to be powerful. He decided to control his destiny. And then he acted on those decisions every single day. Now it is your turn. In your hour of solitude, you must write down your definite purpose. Be crystal clear. What exactly will you achieve? Who exactly will you become? Don't write wishes. Write commands. Your definite purpose must be so clear that you can see it in your mind's eye as if it already exists. Because in truth, it already does. It lives in your imagination, waiting for you to claim it. Say this aloud. I know exactly what I want. I know exactly who I am becoming. And I will let nothing and no one prevent me from achieving my definite purpose. Planting the seeds. Autosuggestion here is the secret weapon of every successful man and woman in history. Autosuggestion.w. Clement Stone, one of the richest men in America, used it daily. He would repeat to himself, "I am prosperous. I am successful. I am worthy of great achievement." At first, he had nothing. But he repeated it until his subconscious mind accepted it, and his life began to change. This is not wishful thinking. This is programming. The subconscious mind does not argue. It accepts whatever is repeated with faith and emotion. And once it accepts it, it begins to guide your actions and attract the people and circumstances you need. I command you to create your own formula of autosuggestions. Write them in the present tense, as if they are already true. Speak them aloud every morning when you wake up and every evening before you sleep. Here's a simple start. I am confident. I am capable. I am worthy of great success. I attract opportunities because I am prepared to seize them. I persist through challenges because I am committed to my definite purpose. Say them with energy, with belief, with repetition. The old you will laugh. The new you will grow stronger. Faith, the final ingredient. Faith, Napoleon Hill wrote, is the eternal elixir which gives life, power, and action to the impulse of thought. Faith is not blind belief. Faith is vision so strong that you see your success before the world does. Sam Walton, who built Walmart into a retail empire, didn't hope he could do it. He knew he would. That knowing guided every risk he took, every step he made. Faith must become your companion. Faith in yourself, faith in your definite purpose, faith that what you see in your mind will become what you see in your life. Closing of Part 1. The awakening. This is your beginning. Today, the old you dies. Today, the new you is born. You will claim solitude. You will discover your definite purpose. You will program your subconscious mind with autosuggestion. And you will walk with faith that your destiny is already yours. Because if not now, when? If not you, who? This is the law of success. This is the command from life itself. And this is only the first step of your transformation. Backhand index pointing right. Part 2 will reveal how to turn this definite purpose into unstoppable momentum, using the hidden forces Napoleon Hill uncovered from the giants of American industry. Would you like me to go ahead and start drafting Part 2, another 1,000 words, in the same style, continuing the story, step by step through Hill's principles? The company you keep shapes the destiny you claim. Inspired by Napoleon Hill. Part 2. The Hook. The mirror of association. Picture this. You walk into a room filled with 5 people. They're laughing, talking, sharing their thoughts. Some are ambitious, some are bitter, some are content with mediocrity. You sit down among them, and whether you notice it or not, you will eventually start to talk like them, think like them, act like them, and even dream like them. Why? Because human beings are like sponges. We absorb the beliefs, the habits, and the attitudes of the people around us. Napoleon Hill called this one of the most powerful truths of success. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Now, here's the question. Who are your 5? The vision before reality. Before we talk about associations, let's pause and revisit the inner world. You must see your success so vividly in your imagination that it feels more real than your current circumstances. This is not fantasy, it's mental rehearsal. Ray Kroc, the man behind McDonald's, saw golden arches stretching across America when he didn't even own a single restaurant. He didn't have the money. He didn't have the investors. He didn't even have the system perfected. But he saw it. Restaurants in every city, families smiling, hamburgers served with consistency everywhere. That vision pulled him forward when reality laughed at him. This is what you must do in your daily solitude. See the life you are creating. Feel it. Live it in your mind. Smell the leather seats of the car you'll drive. Taste the victory of shaking hands after closing the deal. Feel the pride of knowing you fulfilled your purpose. But don't confuse this with daydreaming. Visualization without action is like building a fire but never striking the match. You must see it, yes, but then you must act. The crucial choice, who sits at your table. Action is where your associations matter most. Because the old you? That version of yourself kept the wrong company. Maybe they were friends who laughed at big dreams, coworkers who complained every day, or relatives who told you to be realistic. But you are not the old you. Andrew Carnegie, the man who set Napoleon Hill on his life's work, built his fortune with the help of brilliant men he gathered into a group, a mastermind alliance. Carnegie knew he didn't have all the answers, but he surrounded himself with those who did. He found men who were smarter in areas he was not, who shared his vision, and together they created something greater than any one man could achieve alone. That is your next step. You must carefully, deliberately, and even ruthlessly choose who influences you. Say this aloud right now. I choose my associations carefully because I know I will become like those I spend the most time with. 3 models to study. Napoleon Hill taught that if you don't yet have powerful people around you, you can still begin building your inner circle through study. Find at least 3 individuals, living or dead, who have already achieved what you want. Maybe it's a business leader, an inventor, an athlete, or a great thinker. Read their words. Study their habits. Observe how they carry themselves. Let their examples shape your thinking. Charles Schwab, who rose from humble beginnings to become president of Carnegie Steel, did exactly this. He studied Carnegie, he studied other industrial leaders, and he absorbed their principles until they became part of him. His mind became a library of wisdom, not a trash bin of gossip and small talk. So ask yourself, what are you filling your mind with? Social media arguments? Reality TV? Complaints from coworkers? Or the concentrated wisdom of achievers who have walked the path before you? Every book you read, every conversation you have, every voice you allow into your mind is an association. Some will lift you. Some will poison you. You must choose. The trap of mediocrity. Here's a harsh truth. If you spend your days with people who complain, blame, and make excuses, you will become one of them. Not because you want to, but because that's what constant exposure does. But if you spend your days with those who stretch your thinking, who make you uncomfortable by demanding more of you, who look at obstacles and see opportunities. You will rise to their level. The old you accepted mediocrity because everyone around you accepted it. The new you refuses to. This principle extends beyond people. It's everything you consume. The news you watch, the shows you binge, the music you pump into your ears. All of it shapes your inner world. Protect your mental environment with the same discipline you protect your health. The absolute necessity of action. Now we arrive at the point where dreams and associations meet reality. Action. The old you was a thinker, a planner, a someday dreamer. The old you said, "I'll wait until the time is right." But the time never came. The new you knows this. Action creates clarity, and movement creates momentum. Henry Ford didn't wait until the automobile was perfect. He began producing, and through the process of production, he perfected. Colonel Sanders didn't wait until his restaurant empire was secure. He knocked on doors, over 1,000 rejections before someone believed in his chicken recipe. Walt Disney didn't wait until critics approved. He began with a mouse, and step by step he built a kingdom. Your task today is simple but serious. Take one action. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. Maybe it's sending the email you've avoided. Maybe it's registering the business name. Maybe it's writing the first page of your book. Maybe it's telling someone you trust about your definite purpose so they hold you accountable. It doesn't matter how small. What matters is that you act. Because the universe rewards movement, not hesitation. Welcoming opposition. The moment you act, you will face resistance. Doubt will whisper in your mind. Critics will raise their eyebrows. Obstacles will appear out of nowhere. Good. That is proof that you are on the right path. John D. Rockefeller faced opposition from governments, competitors, and newspapers. Yet each obstacle only sharpened his skills, clarified his vision, and proved his determination. Worthwhile goals always attract opposition because they threaten the comfortable world of those who have settled. So when you face resistance, don't shrink back. Smile and say aloud, "I welcome opposition because it proves my goals are worthy." Closing of Part 2. The Rising Standard. You now understand the power of association, the necessity of visualization, and the truth that action must begin before you feel ready. You know you must guard your mind, choose your company carefully, and face opposition with strength. This is how transformation deepens. You are no longer a drifter, swayed by whatever winds blow your way. You are becoming a builder, shaping your environment, choosing your influences, and moving forward with definite purpose. This is not easy, but it is simple. And each time you act, you prove to yourself and to the world that you are no longer the old you. Backhand index pointing right. Part 3 will reveal how to develop unstoppable persistence. The very trait Napoleon Hill said was the difference between temporary defeat and final success. Part 3. The turning point, persistence, value, and unshakable faith. The young man sat alone in his small apartment, staring at the rejection letter in his hands. It was the 5th one this month. His dream of building something meaningful felt like it was slipping further away with every no he received. For a moment, he thought about giving up. He thought about going back to his old life, the safe, predictable path of mediocrity. But deep inside, a voice whispered, "This is the price of greatness. Don't quit." That whisper grew louder, almost as if generations of achievers were speaking to him, urging him to push forward. And in that moment, he realized something powerful. Persistence is not just about continuing, it's about continuing intelligently. Persistence, the fire that separates winners from quitters. Think about Thomas Edison. History tells us he failed over 10,000 times before finally discovering the right combination of materials for the light bulb. But Edison never saw those failures as wasted time. Each experiment taught him something new, Each mistake carried him closer to success. He wasn't blindly repeating the same thing. He was persisting with intelligence, adjusting, refining, learning, improving. This is the key difference between ordinary people and extraordinary achievers. Ordinary people stop when it gets hard. Extraordinary achievers keep going, but they don't keep going blindly. They keep going wisely. The young man in our story decided that night that he, too, would persist. If one door closed, he would find another. If one path was blocked, he would carve out a new one. He would never, under any circumstances, abandon his definite purpose. Value, the true secret of prosperity, but persistence alone is not enough. A man can stubbornly keep going in the wrong direction forever and still fail. Here lies one of the most important truths of prosperity, a truth Andrew Carnegie once spoke of. You will be compensated in direct proportion to the value you create for others. The young man began to see that success was not about what he could get. It was about what he could give. Carnegie didn't become wealthy by taking from people. He became wealthy because he created steel on a scale the world had never seen, steel that built cities, bridges, and railroads. He solved problems people couldn't solve themselves. He made himself useful to millions. So the question became clear: how can I create more value for others? The young man pulled out a notebook and wrote, what problems can I solve for people? What skills do I need to develop to become more useful? What services can I provide that others truly need? The old version of himself would have thought only about money, how to earn it fast, how to get the most for the least effort. But the new version understood that money is nothing more than a reward for the value you provide. He committed himself to becoming a man of value. Excellence. The habit of champions, but value without excellence is like a diamond covered in dirt. People can't see it, and they won't pay for it. Excellence, not mediocrity, commands attention. Ray Kroc, the man who built McDonald's into a global empire, understood this. His obsession with excellence wasn't about being a perfectionist, it was about the little details. Clean restaurants, fast service, consistency across every meal. Small things done with excellence created a giant empire. The young man thought to himself, if Ray Kroc demanded excellence in hamburgers, why shouldn't I demand excellence in my own work? He wrote another commitment in his notebook. I am obsessed with excellence in everything I do. I refuse to accept good enough when great is possible. From that day on, whether it was a small task or a major project, he gave his best. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. The Mastermind Alliance. No one succeeds alone. Napoleon Hill wrote in Think and Grow Rich about the Mastermind Alliance, a group of people united in spirit and purpose, combining their knowledge, skills, and encouragement to achieve more together than any could alone. Henry Ford understood this. He surrounded himself with brilliant men, financiers, inventors, industrialists, who sharpened his thinking and helped him achieve what seemed impossible. The young man realized he could not do this journey alone. He needed others who shared his commitment to excellence. Not people who would drag him down with excuses and doubts, but people who would lift him higher, challenge him, and hold him accountable. So he began searching. He reached out to someone he respected, someone already living at a higher level of discipline and achievement. Instead of asking, "Can you help me?" he asked, "How can we help each other grow?" That was the beginning of his Mastermind Alliance. Faith, the invisible power behind all success. Yet even with persistence, value, excellence, and allies, one ingredient was still missing: faith. Not blind hope, not wishful thinking, but an unshakable belief that he could and would succeed, no matter the obstacles. Cornelius Vanderbilt had this faith. People told him the railroad industry was too crowded, too established. He built an empire anyway. They told him he was too old to enter new markets. He proved them wrong. His faith was not based on guarantees. It was based on his proven ability to find a way when others saw only obstacles. Faith grows stronger each time you keep a promise to yourself, each time you overcome a challenge, each time you prove that you are stronger than your doubts. The young man began to practice faith. When fear whispered, "You can't do this," he answered with action. When doubt shouted, "It's impossible," he reminded himself of all the times he had already overcome what once seemed impossible. He built layer upon layer of faith until it became unshakable. The transformation that night, sitting in his apartment, the young man closed his notebook and felt a fire burning inside him. He now understood the formula for turning dreams into reality: persistence, never quit, adjust intelligently, value. Success comes from serving others. Excellence, demand greatness. In everything, mastermind, surround yourself with achievers. Faith, believe so strongly that nothing can stop you. He realized that if he lived these principles daily, nothing could keep him from his destiny. And so he smiled, picked up the rejection letter, and instead of feeling defeated, he whispered to himself, "This is not the end. This is the training ground. My time is coming." Fire. That's part 3 in a Napoleon Hill inspired story style, 1,000 words, simple and engaging for American readers. Part 4. The Mastermind, Unlocking Unlimited Power. Let me take you back to a quiet night in Detroit, more than a century ago. The year was 1908. A young reporter, barely in his 20s, sat nervously across from the great steel magnate, Andrew Carnegie. That young man was Napoleon Hill. He had been sent to interview Carnegie for a magazine article. What he didn't know was that this interview would change the course of his life, and through him, the lives of millions of people. Carnegie leaned forward in his chair, eyes blazing with intensity. He told Hill that the world needed a philosophy of success, a blueprint that ordinary people could follow to achieve extraordinary things. Then Carnegie revealed a secret that he insisted was more powerful than money, more powerful than genius, more powerful than luck. That secret was the mastermind. Carnegie explained it in simple terms. No man becomes great alone. Every great fortune, every great invention, every great achievement has been born from a group of minds working together in harmony, toward a common purpose. Think of it. Thomas Edison did not invent the light bulb entirely by himself. He had a laboratory filled with bright assistants and fellow experimenters, all working in unison under his leadership. Henry Ford did not revolutionize the automobile industry by working in isolation. He gathered some of the brightest engineers and financial minds of his time. Together they solved problems that had crushed other carmakers. Carnegie himself was living proof. He admitted openly to Hill that he knew very little about steelmaking in the technical sense. But he surrounded himself with chemists, engineers, financial experts, and salesmen who knew the details better than anyone alive. His genius was not in doing everything himself. It was in bringing together a team of brilliant people and blending their talents into one unstoppable force. That, my friend, is the mastermind principle. The coordination of knowledge and effort between two or more people, who work in harmony toward a definite purpose, creates a power greater than the sum of their individual efforts. Let me tell you a story to make this real. There was a young man named David, who dreamed of starting his own construction company in the Midwest. He was hardworking and ambitious, but he faced one big problem. He didn't have enough capital or connections to get his business off the ground. For years he worked for other contractors, saving a little money but never enough to break free. One day, frustrated and tired of waiting, he remembered something his grandfather had told him. "Son, if you don't have the resources, go find the people who do." So David took a bold step. He approached a retired banker he had met at church and shared his vision of building affordable homes for working families. The banker, impressed by David's sincerity and work ethic, agreed to provide financial backing. Next, David reached out to a talented architect he had once worked with, offering him a partnership if he would design the homes. Finally, he brought in a salesman who was skilled at persuading skeptical homebuyers. Individually, none of these men could have succeeded. The banker had money but no vision. The architect had creativity but no capital. The salesman had persuasion but no product. And David, though driven, lacked the resources. But together, working in harmony, bound by a definite purpose, they built a thriving construction company that changed their entire town. That, my friend, is the mastermind in action. Now, Napoleon Hill often said this principle was like creating an invisible third mind. When two people work together in harmony, focused on a single purpose, a mysterious new energy is born, greater than either person alone. Add more people of the right character, and that energy multiplies. It is as though God Himself breathes life into the alliance. But here is the warning: not everyone belongs in your mastermind. Some people will drain your energy instead of multiplying it. Some will agree to work with you but secretly envy your progress, or even hope for your failure. Others may be lazy, dishonest, or simply not aligned with your vision. If you allow such people into your circle, they will sabotage your progress, sometimes without even realizing it. That is why Hill insisted that harmony is the key. Harmony does not mean everyone always agrees. It means everyone shares the same definite purpose and respects the rules of honesty, loyalty, and contribution. Think of Henry Ford again. His mastermind alliance included Thomas Edison, Harvey Firestone, and even President Warren Harding. These men were not yes men. They argued, challenged, and pushed one another. But all of them were united by a spirit of achievement and a refusal to accept mediocrity. Together, they accelerated each other's growth. So how do you build your own mastermind? First, you must be clear about your definite purpose. You cannot gather others if you do not know where you are going. People will not commit themselves to vague dreams or half-hearted ambitions. They will only commit when they sense your burning obsession. Second, you must seek people who possess skills and knowledge that you lack. If you are great at vision, find someone who excels in details. If you are creative but weak in finances, find someone who understands numbers. Balance is the strength of a true mastermind. Third, you must be willing to give as much as you receive. This is not about using others to achieve your goals. It is about creating a bond of mutual benefit. Your alliance must be built on service, not selfishness. And finally, you must nurture the alliance with respect, trust, and loyalty. The moment suspicion or betrayal enters, the alliance loses its power. Let me ask you, who could be the first person in your mastermind alliance? Think of someone you admire, someone you trust, someone whose character you respect. Do not wait for the perfect group to appear. Start with one, and let the alliance grow naturally. Napoleon Hill once declared that the mastermind principle alone could account for every great fortune in America. Think about that. From Carnegie's steel to Ford's automobiles, from Edison's inventions to Rockefeller's oil empire, all were built not by lone wolves but by alliances of minds united in purpose. And so it is with you. Your dream, your definite purpose, will not be reached in isolation. You must find your allies. You must create your mastermind. When you do, you will discover a power greater than anything you have yet experienced, a power that can make the impossible possible. The old you thought success was a solo journey. The new you know success is a shared creation. The old you feared asking others for help. The new you understands that cooperation is the highest form of strength. Remember this truth: one person with a purpose is strong. Two people in harmony with a purpose are unstoppable. A group of people united in purpose can change the course of history. The question is, who will you invite into your alliance? Sparkles. That completes Part 4, The Mastermind, Unlocking Unlimited Power, 1,000 words, written in a simple, powerful Napoleon Hill storytelling style. Do you want me to continue with Part 5, carrying forward the same flow? Next principle equals unshakable faith. Or should I wait for your review first? Part 5, Faith, the eternal power that transforms dreams into reality. On a cold evening in the hills of Virginia, a young boy sat on the porch of his family's cabin. His clothes were worn, his shoes full of holes, and his stomach often empty. His name was Napoleon Hill. His father had little money. His mother had passed away when he was just a child, and his stepmother constantly reminded him that he was capable of far more than he believed. That boy, who had almost nothing, would later write one of the most influential books on success the world has ever known. How? The answer is simple. He learned the power of faith. But let us be clear. When Hill wrote of faith, he was not speaking only of religion, though religion can be part of it. He was speaking of something broader, something every man and woman can cultivate: the unwavering belief in yourself, your purpose, and your ability to achieve what you desire, even when the evidence around you seems to deny it. Faith is the bridge between your thoughts and their reality. Without it, your plans are fragile. With it, your plans are unstoppable. Let me tell you a story that shows what faith looks like in action. In 1937, when the Great Depression still gripped America, there was a man named Edwin C. Barnes. Barnes was an ordinary man, no wealth, no education to boast of, no connections to powerful men. But he had a burning desire to become a business partner with Thomas Edison, the great inventor. Imagine that for a moment. A poor man with no credentials deciding he would one day work alongside one of the greatest geniuses in history. To most people, that sounded impossible. But Barnes had what Napoleon Hill called a consuming obsession. And more than that, he had faith. Barnes did not sit around wishing. He took a train to Orange, New Jersey, and showed up at Edison's laboratory. His clothes were shabby, his appearance rough, but he looked Edison in the eye and told him he had come to go into business with him. Edison later said that there was something in Barnes's expression that convinced him this was no ordinary man. Though Edison did not make him a partner on the spot, he gave Barnes a small job, sweeping floors and doing minor work. Now, here is the test. Most men would have quit. Most men would have said, "This is beneath me," or "This is hopeless." But Barnes held on to his faith. He believed, he knew, that somehow, someway, he would achieve his goal. Months passed. Then years. And still Barnes worked, quietly, steadily, faithfully. Then one day, Edison introduced a new invention, something called the dictating machine. Most of Edison's salesmen had little interest in it. But Barnes saw his chance. He stepped forward, asked for the opportunity to sell it, and in doing so, sold more of those machines than anyone else. Edison was so impressed that he made Barnes his partner. And for years afterward, their names were linked. Edison and Barnes. Think of that. A man who started with nothing but faith ended up in partnership with one of the greatest men of his time. That is the kind of faith you must develop. Not hope, not mere wishing, but unshakable conviction. Now let us dig deeper. Napoleon Hill often said that faith is created through autosuggestion, the repeated telling of the mind that something is true until the subconscious accepts it as fact. The mind does not distinguish between truth and falsehood. It believes whatever you feed it. If you constantly tell yourself you are weak, unlucky, or destined to fail, your subconscious accepts that and shapes your actions accordingly. But if you tell yourself daily, with conviction, that you are strong, capable, destined for greatness, your subconscious also accepts that and begins to create the circumstances that match your belief. This is why Hill taught the importance of affirmations. He advised writing down your definite purpose, speaking it aloud morning and night, and repeating it until you feel it deep in your bones. By doing so, you build faith. And faith, once built, transforms mere desire into absolute certainty. Let me share another story. During the darkest days of World War II, when Britain was being bombed relentlessly, many thought the nation would collapse. But Winston Churchill stood before his people and declared, "We shall never surrender." He did not say this because the facts gave him reason to believe. The facts said Britain was outnumbered, outgunned, and surrounded. But Churchill spoke with faith. And his faith inspired millions to endure, to fight, and ultimately to prevail. Faith, you see, is contagious. When you possess it, others catch it from you. It spreads like fire in dry grass. But let us also be honest. Faith is not blind. It is not foolish dreaming. It is belief backed by purpose, persistence, and action. Barnes did not simply sit on his porch wishing to be Edison's partner. He took the train. He showed up. He worked. His faith lived in his actions. So how can you develop faith? First, decide what you want with absolute clarity. Vague wishes cannot create faith. You must have a definite purpose. Second, affirm your purpose daily. Write it down. Speak it aloud. See yourself already in possession of it. This constant repetition burns the image into your subconscious. Third, act as if it were already true. Do not wait for confidence to appear. Confidence grows only when you act. Fourth, surround yourself with people who strengthen your belief. Doubters and complainers will erode your faith. A mastermind alliance, as we discussed in Part 4, multiplies your faith. Finally, persist when nothing seems to happen. Remember, Barnes swept floors for years before his chance came. Faith means holding on when the evidence says let go. Hill once wrote, "Faith is the only known antidote for failure." Think about that. Without faith, every obstacle feels like defeat. With faith, every obstacle becomes a stepping stone. My friend, there will be times when you feel discouraged, when the path looks dark, when progress seems impossible. That is the moment when faith matters most. That is the moment when you must tell yourself, again and again, "I will not quit. I will not surrender. My dream is mine, and I shall have it." For the truth is this: whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But belief must be absolute. That is faith. So let me leave you with a question. What dream in your heart have you been doubting? What purpose have you allowed fear to weaken? Today, choose to believe. Speak your purpose with conviction. Act on it as though it were already true. And watch as the world bends to the power of your faith. Sparkles. That completes Part 5, Faith, the eternal power that transforms dreams into reality. 1,000 words, told in a story-driven, Napoleon Hill style. Part 6, Autosuggestion, the silent power that shapes your destiny. On a quiet morning in a small town in Kentucky, a young boy walked to school with a tattered book clutched under his arm. That boy was me, Napoleon Hill. At that age, I did not know I would one day write a philosophy that would change millions of lives. But what I didn't know, even as a child, was the strange power of words. Words, whispered over and over again, shape the mind. And the mind, once shaped, shapes your destiny. This is the principle of autosuggestion, the art of influencing your subconscious mind through repeated words and thoughts. It sounds simple. Almost too simple. But let me assure you, the greatest men and women in history have used it, consciously or unconsciously, to rise above poverty, despair, and defeat, and to claim the rewards of success. The story of a little boy with no ears. Let me tell you a story that remains one of the greatest demonstrations of autosuggestion I have ever witnessed. Many years ago, I became the father of a son who was born without the ability to hear. The doctors shook their heads. They told me he would never hear, never speak, never live a normal life. Most fathers would have wept in despair. But I did not. From the very beginning, I refused to accept that my son was destined to be deaf and dumb. I began planting in his young mind the seed of faith and possibility. I whispered into his ears, though he could not hear, that he would live a full, successful life. I told him he would go to school like other boys, that he would learn to speak, and that one day he would become a man of achievement. Every day, I repeated these affirmations, not with doubt, but with absolute conviction. Though the doctors had spoken defeat, I spoke victory. Years passed. Slowly, my son began to notice vibrations, then faint sounds. Eventually, with the help of hearing devices, he was able not only to hear but also to speak. Later in life, he graduated from college, secured a good position with a major company, and became an inspiration to thousands of people with disabilities. That, my friend, is the power of autosuggestion. The words you speak to yourself and to others take root in the subconscious mind. And the subconscious, once convinced, works tirelessly to make those words come true. The science of autosuggestion. The subconscious mind is like fertile soil. It will grow whatever seed you plant, whether that seed is success or failure, courage or fear, abundance or poverty. Autosuggestion is the tool by which you choose which seeds to plant. Every time you repeat a thought, every time you speak words of belief or fear, you are watering those seeds. If you constantly say, "I can't, I'm unlucky, I'll never succeed," then your subconscious believes it and begins creating circumstances to match. But if you speak daily, "I can, I will, I am destined for success," your subconscious accepts this as truth and begins shaping your world accordingly. This is not magic. It is psychology. The subconscious mind controls your habits, your confidence, your creativity, your very actions. And those actions create results. The great inventor who talked to himself. Consider Thomas Edison. The world knows him as the genius who gave us electric light, the phonograph, the motion picture camera. But what few understand is that Edison failed over 10,000 times before perfecting the light bulb. What kept him going? Autosuggestion. Edison trained his mind to see every failure not as defeat, but as progress. He repeated to himself, "I have not failed. I have simply found another way that does not work." That mental habit, repeated self-talk, prevented despair from taking root. Instead, it kept faith alive until the breakthrough came. How you can use autosuggestion. Now let us turn from stories to practical application. How can you use this invisible power? 1. Write down your definite purpose. Be specific. Do not write, "I want money." Write, "I will earn $50,000 this year through my business." Clarity is essential. The subconscious works with precision. Point 2. Create a daily affirmation. Hill advised writing a short statement of your purpose, including what you will give in return for success. Example: I will earn $50,000 this year by providing valuable service to others through my business. I believe this will happen. I see this money in my hands. I give my best effort daily in exchange for this reward. 3. Repeat it aloud morning and night. Speak it with emotion. Mere words do nothing. Feeling gives them power. Do this before bed, when your subconscious is most open, and in the morning, to set the tone for the day. Point 4. Visualize while you speak. See yourself already in possession of the goal. Feel the joy of accomplishment. The subconscious cannot distinguish between real and vividly imagined experiences. Point 5. Guard against negative autosuggestion. Do not allow doubt, fear, or complaints to dominate your speech. Every "I can't" plants poison in the soil of your mind. Replace it instantly with "I can and I will." 6. Persist until belief becomes reality. At first, your words may feel empty. But with repetition, belief grows. And once belief is strong, action becomes unstoppable. The soldier who survived. Let me share one more story. During World War II, a young American soldier was trapped behind enemy lines. With little food, no clear path of escape, and constant danger, he could easily have surrendered to despair. But every day, he repeated to himself, "I will make it home. I will see my family again." He said it so often, with such conviction, that he began to believe it. That belief gave him the courage to keep moving, to keep fighting, to keep searching for a way out. Weeks later, against all odds, he found his way back to friendly territory. When asked how he had survived, he said simply, "I told myself I would." That is autosuggestion. The words you repeat become the reality you live, the final truth. And so, my friend, we reach the conclusion of our journey. We have spoken of desire, imagination, organized planning, faith, and the mastermind. But without autosuggestion, all these remain weak. Autosuggestion is the mechanism by which you program your subconscious with your definite purpose. It is the way you turn desire into belief, belief into action, and action into reality. Napoleon Hill wrote, "Through the principle of autosuggestion, any person may rise to altitudes of achievement which stagger the imagination. It is the agency of control through which an individual may voluntarily feed his subconscious mind on thoughts of a creative nature, or, by neglect, permit thoughts of a destructive nature to find their way into this rich garden of the mind. The choice is yours. You are speaking to yourself every day, whether you realize it or not. The question is, what are you telling yourself? If you wish to rise, then begin today to speak words of victory. Repeat your definite purpose with passion. See it in your mind. Feel it in your heart. And do not stop until your subconscious accepts it as fact. For when that happens, nothing can stop you. The world itself must bend to your will. Remember always, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Autosuggestion is the tool by which you make belief unshakable. So speak boldly. Speak with faith. Speak until your very soul vibrates with certainty. And then watch as life delivers exactly what you demanded of it. Sparkles. That completes Part 6, Autosuggestion, the silent power that shapes your destiny. 1,000 words, the final part of this Napoleon Hill inspired success journey. Fire. Your turn to act. Fire. If this story has inspired you, don't just keep it to yourself. Backhand index pointing right. Subscribe to stay connected for more powerful lessons that can change your life. Backhand index pointing right. Share this with a friend or loved one who needs encouragement today. Backhand index pointing right. Comment below and tell me, what goal are you now ready to declare with absolute faith? Your words matter. Your story matters. And your success journey begins the moment you take action. Rocket.